Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya al-mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, in the previous video we have tried to give you an idea of the relationship between the nature of our mind and akal. And from the Islamic perspective, we know that when we are operating from the perspective the akal al-kulli and akal al-juzi, we will be able, the integrated akal will have the mind or the akal as the main loci of control, and the qalb and the ruh as the subsidiary realm within the akal, and we have our nerves here. So at this level, our mind is dominant in doing the work of the various aspects of akal. And that I will explain inshallah in the future video, so that we can understand that basically the whole concept of mind is very close to the concept of akal in Islam. And this is, as mentioned to you, the research by Professor Dan Siegel, alright, and many other researchers who are trying to find a synergy of the akal and the physical self. That means they are trying to find integration of the brain, the mind, and the self. So there are three areas now. They are talking about this and this and this. So the three areas synergize, and when there is synergy or there is coherence or there is integration, they call it integration, all right, then we can achieve peace, happiness, success. We can achieve freedom from fear, worry, stress, and so on. So they are doing a lot of research in this area. So there are other institutes, they are working on this intuitive heart and feelings, all right. And there are many researchers now, apart from HeartMath Institute, there are many other researchers that are working on this, okay. So at this level, the qalb is dominant. The qalb play a role as the loci of control, as our great scholar Al-Imam Ghazali says. In the normal circumstances, the qalb will play the most important role, and we would have this intuitive inner feelings, and this is experiential. That means, even though it's experiential, it can be proven scientifically. But at the highest level, in terms of the ruh, this is where I think as Muslims we must understand. Even Al-Ghazali says we should not dwell too much on the nature of the ruh, because it is more experiential. You feel it within your spiritual self, but you cannot try to pinpoint the ruh of this or that and the nature of the ruh, because we are not given that much knowledge of the nature of the ruh. But even then, I mean, we would know that basically Allah has created our existence with the ruh, the qalb, and the akal, all right. And aspect of the ruh is something that is so high level in terms of the understanding that if we want to go into the nature of the attributive aspects of the ruh, that is okay. But if you want to go into the essential nature of the ruh, then it is very difficult to understand. So at that level, I think we should not try to dwell on that. But all that we know is that the ruh, qalb, and akal, as it exists on this earth, if we develop the sense of love, understanding the love of Allah unto all His creatures, and our feedback loop towards the heart-based love of Allah, and the beautiful aspect of hubbullah, beautiful aspect of for example, Allah tells us Allah is Ghafurul Wadud, most forgiving and most loving kindness. So the tender loving kindness, if we can infuse that into our system, then we can understand that our life is very beautiful, regardless of the challenges, the suffering, the difficulties, and so on. We can actually balance it out with a understanding of the nature or existence from the aspect of the ruh, and most importantly the qalb. So if we are going to develop the Islamic model of positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy, then we have to work on the heart first, and then the akal. So we have the heart and the akal, and we work at these two levels alone, then we have a very integrated system of existence. That means it comprehends our SEMP, as I mentioned to you, this realm of, here is S, E, all right, M, and then P. P is here, all right. So the P aspect. So once we are able to integrate our SEMP, that means optimizing our spiritual self, optimizing our qalb, our roh, our qalb, optimizing our akal, optimizing our jasad in terms of a total system, then we would then overcome the problem of the psychological problems that humanity is facing now. That means the issue of anxiety, the issue of depression, the issue of meaninglessness in life, the issue of having no hope, the issue of suicidal tendencies and so on. So many of that we will discuss later on will not be an issue, because there is a feedback system, a mechanism in which we can optimize our roh, our qalb, our akal and our nafs and our jasad together, working in a direction of coherence, or you can call it integration or synergy. These three words, coherence, integration and synergy at SEMP level. That is our goal. So if there is no coherence, no synergy, no integration, then we have all the psychosocial problems that we are facing. All right. If there is coherence, then there will be a beautiful flow of a love, of meaning and purpose in life. So I'm going to just show you a video from the HeartMath Institute, and just to give you the taste of what research are being done there. And it is important. That means for Muslim universities and research institutions, we have billions of dollars. Put aside a certain amount for the development of the mind, development of the qalb, the intuitive heart, and many other aspects. Because at the roh aspect, I don't recommend any sort of development insofar as trying to prove this or that, because even Imam Ghazali says, just assume that it is given by Allah, and then feel the taste of the existence of your spiritual self and the spiritual realm. Yes, Muslim scholars at the highest level can even sense the existence of the spiritual world and have experiential evidence of the spiritual world, but they cannot tell common people like you and I. For example, I do not have that experience, or I have a small amount of the experiential idea of the existence of the spiritual world, which I only know. But if I describe to you, you would say, is that real? So we do not want to get into the argument. So I do not want to go at our level of understanding as common folks. We are not Ahli Sufi, we are not, for example, expert in tasawwuf, we are not expert in terms of the nature of the spiritual realm. So we just accept that and work towards understanding it. And sometimes the door of the spiritual realization will open to you once in a while. All right? When the experience happens to you, then you confirm the reality that Allah has given to you. But at this level of the intuitive heart, emotions and mind, this is something that we can do a lot of research, and then we Muslims can lead the world to heal the world. In this current situation, the whole civilization is moving towards self-destruction in terms of the psychological problems that we have, in terms of the societal problems that they have, in terms of climate change, ecological problems, in terms of so many of the indicators that show that we are heading towards self-destruction. So we got to change that and help to make a better world for all. So I'll just show you this video, and then we will just continue again a little bit more.
Research papers over the years. And in the early 90s, we discovered that heart rate variability, which is measuring the beat-to-beat changes in your heart rate, which change with every beat. So if you look at that slide, the heart rate is about 70 beats per minute, but it's changing with every beat. And what HeartMath discovered, published in the American Journal of Cardiology, is that these beat-to-beat changes in heart rate create a pattern. There's a lot of people measuring other aspects of heart rate variability now for overtraining, for a lot of other indicators for health. But we specifically focused on the pattern because it's the pattern of the heart rhythm is what's informing the brain. And we found from other neurocardiology research that the heart actually has its own little brain inside that can sense, feel, learn, and remember its own intrinsic nervous system, and it wasn't really discovered until the 1990s. So what happens is when we're feeling stress, frustration, anger, anxiety, worry, the heart rhythm pattern becomes jagged and irregular like the top graph. And that signal is sent from the heart through the vagal nerve to the brain. When we're feeling love, genuine care, compassion, kindness, appreciation, all the qualities we associate with the heart, we see this beautiful sine wave-like coherent pattern at the bottom. And the heart brain is sending that pattern to the head brain. This is probably the most important slide I'll show you, and I think of what HeartMath is sharing through our training programs and coaching programs in the military, all 4 branches of the armed services, law enforcement, schools. We really have a mission to help people align the heart and brain to become their higher potentials without necessarily using the spiritual language, but that's our motivation, to really reach the street, bring sky to street. So if you look at this, you can see that the signals from the heart going through the vagal nerve to the brain are actually going right to the thalamus, which synchronizes cortical function, and then to the frontal lobes, and they're going straight to the amygdala, the emotional memory center. And the core cells of the amygdala actually synchronize to the heartbeat. So what we're feeling and what the heart rhythm pattern is doing is affecting what emotional memories come up. So stress and anxiety can come up, trigger the brain pattern match to an anxiety habit. Loving, caring, practicing heart coherence, that becomes more familiar, and the brain and the amygdala respond as a pattern matching computer. So what's exciting about this is that we really are finding that there's a state of the heart, a physiological state called heart rate variability coherence, that we can train ourselves into to help change our baseline brain response to stress and our connection with our higher intuitive guidance. Now I want to make sure you understand there's a difference between relaxation and coherence. Relaxation is wonderful, and it's not a high-performing state. As an executive, I don't want everybody sitting at the table relaxed. I want them present, alert, and clear-minded, but relaxed inside as well. And that's what we're seeing here. I don't have a pointer here, but the peak on the top right is the relaxation response, the parasympathetic. And if you look down below, the coherence state shows the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems entrained, so their power is working together. And that's what we call the heart-powered coherent state, because it's actually now sending that signal to the brain, synchronizing cortical function all the way to the frontal lobes, global synchronization, and it has more power. It's 700 in the power spectrum versus the relaxation power. So if we can get into that state, we can help ourselves enter the flow state that business people talk about, or sports people, or the first level of the zone. We're really in a state for optimizing health, clarity, performance, and our connection with intuition. So we really look at this heart intelligence, this very scientific definition of it, this physiological definition, as what is going to create this breakthrough in human understanding of science and non-duality that everybody can use, the ordinary person can use, once we understand it's a big paradigm shift, that the brain isn't controlling everything, that the heart actually sends more signals to the brain telling the brain what to do than the brain sends to the heart. Most of the traffic from heart to brain, 90% of it is afferent from the heart and the body. And that's just turns everything upside down in terms of physiology. So picture heart intelligence as the flow of awareness that happens when the heart, brain, mind, and emotions are in coherent alignment. And that gives us connection more with the intuitive guidance that we all want to feel and be led by. And the technologies, the training programs that HeartMath has created were all for this purpose. We market them for stress management, stress relief, health, well-being, optimal performance. But in our heart of hearts, they're really to help people connect with this heart coherent state, to connect more with their intuitive guidance and higher self, higher potential. And so it has games for kids or adults to play to help train into coherence. And how does this relate directly to intuition? Well, we did the research replicating some studies that IONS, the Institute of Noetic Sciences, had done, and we took it one step further to really look at how heart coherence might play a role in this. We had people, brain waves, skin response, EKG, everything hooked up. And we were looking at what is the electrophysiology of intuition. And what we found is that well, let me describe the experiment. The computer would randomly select either a disturbing, gory picture of blood and guts, or it would select a very calming, beautiful picture of bunny rabbits in nature. And you didn't know which one it was going to do. This was all random. And we wanted to see what the response would be from the physiology. And what we found was really exciting, really intriguing. So here what you see is before the computer randomly selects the picture, the heart knows if it's going to be disturbing or calm. The heart knows, and you can see it diverging there, the red line at the bottom and the blue line at the bottom of the graph. If it was a disturbing picture, you can see that the red line had a different response. It was a calm picture. The HRV had a different response. So the divergence happened 4.8 seconds prior to the computer randomly selecting the picture. Then what we noticed from heartbeat evoked potential analysis, it's called, that the heart was then sending a different neural signal from the heart to the brain all the way to the frontal lobes. And the brain responded then also before the computer randomly selected the picture. But it was directed by the heart's pattern. And that was pretty exciting because the implications of this are that the intuitive processes of the heart are accessing a field of information that's not limited by the boundaries of time and space through an energetic or spiritual heart. The coupling of our energetic or spiritual heart that everyone in yoga and consciousness talks about to our physical heart, and then the physical heart then informing the brain. And this is outside of time and space, the real non-dualistic state. And what we found is people who were practiced in heart coherence could really get into that sine wave state had stronger effect on the frontal lobes. They were more connected with the heart's intuitive guidance. So that would encourage us all to practice. Now, what gets us into heart coherence state more and more? It's that sincere shift out of the mind to the heart, like that beautiful meditation, letting it really shift to the heart center and really putting out love, care, compassion, kindness, appreciation. That increases what we call personal coherence. And as we increase our personal coherence, remember when we get stressed or angry and frustrated or worried, which is easy to do these days, we live in this planet and look what's happening. How do we learn to shift back quickly? How do we train ourselves so we have more of a strong baseline to get us back there quickly during the day-to-day? Not just during meditations. And that's really what the HeartMath tools and technologies, that's what we develop them for. I use them myself all the time because life is challenging today. So as we increase our personal coherence, what happens is we're starting to increase what we call our social coherence. And this is also very exciting research about the heart, because the heart, if every heartbeat is putting out a powerful energy, that's what powers the brain and body, and it's beating what we're feeling in that heart rhythm pattern out into the world around us. So think of the heart's magnetic field as like transmitting the heart's pattern and information like a radio wave, like a radio station, out into the world around you. And it can be measured up to 5 feet away, that my heart rhythm pattern can be measured in your brain or in your field. So we are all affecting each other. So again, frustration, anger, worry, anxiety, feelings it's hard not to feel these days, especially create this radio wave of stress. And we see the stress waves and feel them all over the media and the planet. Whereas if we can shift to appreciation, gratitude, care, love, compassion, look at the beautiful harmonic wave that we're bringing out in the environment. And this is this is something that really touched my heart when I first saw this research. Josh and Mabel, in the research lab, Josh was 12 years old at the time. Mabel was a very old dog, probably about 12 years old at the time too. And they were in different parts of the lab. And what happened is they were hooked up. And when Josh went into the room that Mabel was in, didn't touch her, didn't talk to her, sat down in a chair and started radiating love to her, did what we call a heart lock-in, a coherence technique. Look what happened to Mabel's heart rate variability pattern. The dog received the love, felt the love, the two entrained. Isn't that awesome? To me, this picture speaks 1,000 words. I still get chilled every time I look at it, because what it's saying is we are affecting each other's fields all the time. We are connected, and this has been replicated with people and horses and people. So this entrainment of our heart and brain, and this entrainment between each other, can lift the field environment, and so lift the vibration of the field. In fact, coherence is understood in physics terms all the way at the quantum level, down to nature, into the human level. We can see coherence at every level, and that links us to other dimensions, which is what we all need. Like a laser light is coherent photons, much more powerful than incandescent light, so we can access that potential within ourselves. Another research project, not ours, was done by another group, another institute, where they had 3 people who knew how to get into this heart coherent state, all hooked up around a card table, and a 4th person who knew nothing about it, and they hooked the person up. And there were 10 card tables, so 40 people. And what they found was, in a very short time, the person who knew nothing about what was going on started to have more heart coherent patterns in their heart rhythm. They got into coherence. That means we can affect each other. We all know that intuitively, but to see it measured and to see how strong a role the heart plays in it, actually a priori to the brain, that means we all really need to pay attention to what's going on in our heart and our feelings. So we launched at the Institute of Heart Math the Global Coherence Initiative. And there's a table out there, you can learn more about it, but this is where we're researching interconnectivity. Now, human cognitive functions and emotions and behaviors are affected by each other's magnetic fields, and our hypothesis is by the planetary energetic fields. And the Earth's magnetic fields are carriers of biologically relevant information connecting all life together and forming all life. And so we're all affecting this global information field. So our goal, our hypothesis, our desire is to see if large numbers of people getting in this true heart coherent state of love, care, appreciation in their synchronized meditations can have a more dramatic impact on the Earth's fields and benefit others and really help offset the planetary stress wave that's going on in the field. So we are actually measuring our interconnectivity. We have sensors, ultra-sensitive magnetic field detectors.
Alhamdulillah, this is the video from HeartMath, the Research Institute, in so far as working on the intuitive heart and feelings, and you can see the depth of their studies. So it is, again, they're coming very close to Islam because our Qalb is interacting with our Ruh and our Aqal. And this integration, they call it integration or coherence, at the Qalb level will also integrate our Ruh and our Aqal, and it will then filter down to our cognitive brain, and then affect our emotion, our TEF, thoughts, emotions and feelings, and then our actions will then be based on the heart. That means this intuitive heart is feeding us with all the wonderful things that Allah has given us. That means the shower of love from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the mercy and compassion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the love and the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. And we are being showered with that shower of the infinite mercy of Allah, the ocean of mercy. The Ahli Tasawwuf tell us this ocean of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is infinite. There's infinity, infinite. If only we can sense it and sense it in our intuitive heart, then will affect our physical heart our physical heart then will affect our akal, our mind, and then our cognitive cell, and then this emotion will go filter through a positive, good, wonderful life, and then our action and behavior will reflect that. So once we are able to integrate our spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical self, or our roh, our qalb, our akal, and our jasad, then we create a wonderful model of Islamic psychology, which is the most accurate worldview that we can present first to the ummah. We Muslims must believe this is the gift from Allah to the ummah. So we are only discovering this because these were all written down many 100 years, 1,000 years ago. But since we are rediscovering it, we can put it in the context of the scientific studies that is being done by other institutions. So inshallah, with the grace of Allah, maybe at one point, our Positive Islamic Psychology Center will have all those necessary equipment, and we can replicate those experiments that's being done at the intuitive heart level, at the mind level, and also at how we can develop positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy, and then we can actually present this to the ummah. Because as I say, at the highest level of the roh, we do not want to, as I say, experiment, because what is beyond space, beyond time, in the realm of the Zat of Allah, in the realm of His command, His Amar, in the realm of the spirit that He blow into us, we must accept it as it is. All right? Rather than try to explain it in a scientific experiment, because no scientific equipment can replicate that. But alhamdulillah, at this level of the intuitive heart, the emotions, the qalb and akal, and the cognitive thoughts, this can be prove or use all the scientific equipment that we can, and with that we can then inshallah develop a wonderful way forward towards develop a wonderful, balanced, coherent ummah that can live in peace and happiness, that can enjoy the gift of Allah, striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, making the world good in the way from the shower of the grace, the mercy, the forgiveness of Allah, inshallah.